What are you starting to hate as you get older? Story 1 adds, I used to accept them as just part of life. Now I'd rather not watch whatever it is at all if there's going to be ads in it. Story 2, the internet. I feel like I grew up with the internet with all of its quirks and oddities, but now it has become segmented into the major platforms, and the majority of online conversation feels increasingly negative. Story 3, just how legitimately stupid so many people seem to be. I know it's society as a whole entering this new era of open and unashamed ignorance, but it's really, really fucking annoying. Now, on the one hand, I understand people used to be dumb as well, but at least people had some sense of shame about it. Instead, now they seem to wear it as a badge of honor. It's sickening on a deeply disturbing level. Story 4, irresponsible people in general. Ironically, I'm lesser patient with adult people now at 40 than half the age. With kids' endless patience, with adults, it vaporized. You're supposed to understand consequences of your actions and decisions. Story 5, liberals. Most of them are trapped in an echo chamber because they don't surround themselves with people who disagree. A lot of them have this complex of, if you disagree with me about XYZ, then you don't care about the welfare of human beings / animals / the environment. I grew up surrounded by liberals leftists, and I still consider myself to be rather leftist, but I 1000% disagree with shutting others out to punish them for their beliefs. The tough conversations are the ones worth having, emo. Story 6. Other people. The younger generation, inner city kids in general, are just so much worse than when I was one. The rudeness and disrespect that some of these kids display, it's shocking. It's sometimes hard to imagine what they will grow up to be. It felt bad when I was a kid, but the vast majority were okay kids and turned out well. Yet the young ones, now it seems the majority are bad, some even evil. Feels a bit hopeless if I'm honest. I fear for society as a whole going forward. It's scary. Story 7. People. Particularly people in public who seem to have zero concept that there's anyone else on the planet. This has been a much bigger problem since COVID. I'm talking specifically about people who wandered down the center of the grocery store aisle at a speed slightly slower than that of a pregnant slug, completely oblivious to anyone trying to get around them, often even completely oblivious to a polite "excuse me." Closely related are the idiots that cruise through the door of a large store like Costco, and then suddenly stop, as if they're overwhelmed by the giant collection of stuff, as if they've never seen it before. Story 8. You know when you're young and think you have somehow magically discovered the solution to all the world's problems, and old people are somehow in the way of you giving your wonderful gifts to the world? Now I'm on the other side of this, and it's quite infuriating. You now know that you don't know everything, and the world's problems don't have one simple solution, and you've seen things tried and failed many times over. And literally no one cares or listens. They keep repeating the same mistakes over and over, while thinking they're right about everything. Story 9. Politics and ideological debates. I used to love debating ideas in my late teens and early 20s, especially political and social issues, but I absolutely hate it now. People get angry, nobody's mind is changed, and your view of that person changes forever. I just avoid it every chance I get and just instead focus on things I have in common with whoever I'm talking to. For instance, I play the Digimon TCG with people who are far left and far right. I just focus the conversation on Digimon-related things, and if they want to talk politics, I kindly ask them to stop. Story 10. People judging younger generations for doing the same shit we did in different ways. People hating other people for harmlessly enjoying themselves, taking photos in public without bothering anyone, wearing what they want, etc. People who think their time and opinion is the only one that matters. Story 11. Losing more and more of the tail end of the silent generation and baby boomers. One day, there will be no more stories about building victory gardens during WW2, hearing Elvis perform live, or watching the first man walk on the moon. I love hearing their stories, whether they be little cute and mundane things or serious and profound. Story 12. The younger generation. Are they all really that lazy? I mean, it's all our fault, but I'll be damned if we ain't got an issue with the 18, 25-year-old males being super unmotivated to do anything other than not put forth an effort at anything other than watching a video or playing a video game. And I'm a way back gamer and loved them. Story 13. People with dogs. I'm probably just reacting to the worst owners, and the good owners go unnoticed, but holy hell. Poop on every sidewalk, every grassy area, barking at all hours of the day, loud enough to hear through the walls of a house, walking into malls and grocery stores with their precious fur babies and strollers. It seems like every dog owner has lost their goddamn mind and is actively trying to make people hate dogs. I grew up with dogs as a kid, and it wasn't even a question about any of these behaviors. It was just not acceptable for our family. We had super well-behaved dogs, cleaned up after them, and didn't force them on anyone and everyone in stores and restaurants and even sidewalks. Someone just a couple weeks ago let their dog on a 20-foot leash come right up to our stroller. It all happened super fast. And if I hadn't reacted instantly, I have no idea if that dog would have tried to put its nose right into my kid's face. "Oh, my dog would never bite your kid," said every dog owner who ever had a dog bite a kid. Fuck dog owners, get your shit together, people. Story 14, technology. High-tech used to mean amazing, wow, well-made, high quality. Now, technology is a pain in the ass. It's not convenient and overly complicated. Apps for everything. Yet another account you have to register. Set up mandatory autopay. Apps used to be amazing. Now they are just crap to suck every last cent you have. I know how to type, but here I am, hen-pecking on a tiny keyboard or the utter hell of searching for something on TV with that damned AZ in order shit on screen keyboard that takes forever to enter with a TV remote. Story 1544M here. Same things I've hated for a while. Cost of living. 40-hour work weeks. Working way too long in life. Inadequate pay for jobs with way too many responsibilities/requirements /on-call requirements, etc. Under the influence drivers, some members of the surrounding generations, boomers and millennials. The generic situation of repeating the same actions as and expecting different results, or acting shocked at how nothing changed. Also, narcissists, MAGAs, influencers, and feral kids, unsupervised, poorly raised. Story 16. I feel like I'm mostly getting more tolerant of things as I get older, especially trivial shit. Like I used to be one of those people who derided pop music and people who like it, but now I have an easier time letting people just enjoy things. Story 17. People who care about aging. So many friends feel like they can't go out or do things anymore and must settle down because they're in their 30s like, hey now, age is a number and doesn't dictate anything unless you let it. It bugs me so much. *edit. Spelling. Story 19. Money, and the myth that the economy is doing good because the stock market is high. We have the money, infrastructure, and resources to ensure everyone has the basics. Healthcare, shelter, food, water, transportation. And the people in charge are just like, no thanks. Meanwhile, millionaires and billionaires are like, maybe if you made coffee at home? And families are like, okay everyone, milk or bread at the store, but we can't afford both. Edit to add, and the cost of everything has gone up in the past 4 years and keeps going up, except for pay. That's not getting better. Story 20. My job. I used to absolutely love teaching. It's all I ever wanted to do. I just wanted to get better and better at my craft and get kids to love school and learning new things. Now I'm just exhausted all the time, burned out, feeling unappreciated, and that my life has been taken over with lesson planning, grading, documenting everything, going to meetings, doing professional development, keeping up with my certifications, and placating parents who get upset at the smallest thing to do with their child who doesn't listen, doesn't respect people, is irresponsible, routinely misses school, and just makes the day harder in general, but it's my fault. Sorry. Rant over. Story 21. All tarot readings on YT seem to do is endlessly gaslight single me that my soulmate is coming, that he's just about to text me and shit like that. Well, it's been 3 fucking years and he hasn't, but every one of my sun, moon, rising sign collective readings pulls this shit endlessly day after day, and it's fucked my mind so hard. I'm finally realizing it's a giant gaslight, and I'm so alone that the aloneness is a living thing going to swallow me whole. Anyone else finally sick to all fuck of this absolute bullshit and want a K*L themselves too? Story 22. Social media. The shit I see young people doing and saying makes me want to eject into space. Main character syndrome is so prevalent now. I used social media for years. Was in high school when everyone had a MySpace, so I've experienced the change and new platforms over the past 20 years. But over the past 5 years, maybe a bit more, it's become a problem in so many ways. Oh, also drinking. I used to have a problem for my entire 20s, seeped into my early 30s a little. I hate alcohol now. What a waste of that part of my life. Story 23. People that live at home with their parents, rent, payment-free with no stress, financial stress/worrying about affording groceries, worrying about affording rent, worrying about getting sick or injured because the hospital's so expensive if they don't live in a country that values its citizens' lives, etc. even though they're adults. I know I'll get hate and probably downvotes, but I always find myself getting jealous of adults that don't have to worry about adult stressors just because they lucked out with how their parents treat them, how understanding their parents are, or they were born into money and don't need to work. Story 24. The medical community, which apparently thinks I should just die, even though it was a series of medical mistakes that caused all of my serious health issues. If it did not happen to me, I probably would not believe it. Is there some unwritten policy for doctors to give crappy care to people who have been seriously injured by one of their cronies? Edit. If not for God and my own resourcefulness, I would be dead by now. I hope I continue to live in spite of them, my suffering, and the subpar care I get. Story 25. I'm finding myself rapidly starting to hate the anti-grind/work culture. Like, I get the idea of not wanting to work under crap conditions and bosses. Nobody should be treated like crap or be forced to work horrible hours due to bad scheduling or bad pay, but it's to the point where any inconvenience, any negativity makes people just quit. Millennials began it, but thanks to the internet, the idea of anti-work/grind has become pervasive and very much negatively warped. Story 26. Work. Not work itself, but I've come to that realization over the last few years that most companies don't give a shit, and it stopped me dead in my tracks to do anything other than what's required of me. No more above and beyond. On the flip side of that, I've found more enjoyment in having the time to do my hobbies. Yay. Story 27. Fandoms. Like, I have been a comic book nerd, a sci-fi nerd, an anime nerd, and I got literally beat the shit out of for my interests by former school peers. I am not saying it's a bad thing that people don't get socially rejected for having certain interests, not at all, especially not the new generation. Nah, you are all good. I'm talking about people in their 30s like me, but it sucks to think I had to go through that only for it to become mainstream, and now it's literally everywhere, and people preaching about how cool it is. I always thought that stuff was cool. In one way, I love it now. Everyone sees what I saw and appreciates it, and I love that. But at the same time, every one of us that went through hell because Marvel wasn't cool, DC wasn't cool, anime wasn't cool, video games weren't, sci-fi and fantasy. If you bullied someone over that or ridiculed someone over it and now you actually are a fan of that field, you owe someone out there an apology. Fact. Story 28. Conservatives. WTF is happening. Alabama should be kicked out of the country. Stopping people from having kids who desperately want them enough to go through IVF, which is horrible and expensive, should be criminal. Where the fuck does that stop? We're going to jail people who have sex that doesn't result in a successful pregnancy. We're going to jail a 12-year-old girl for having a period for the loss of life. Or we're going to jail the child boy for impregnating her. I wonder why Alabama has a reputation for being dumb. Story 29. Being invisible and unemployable. I'm trying to find a job after retiring from 38 years working in medical imaging. I get interviews, but as soon as they see the gray hair, suddenly I'm not a candidate. I have no home drama. I'm never late. I can count on one hand the number of times I called in sick. I type 70+ words a minute. They turn me down, then I see the same advertisement for the job appear 2 weeks later and just shake my head. You could have had me all that time? Hire the older folks. Story 30. Greed and money. When I was younger, I literally had everything I should have. Anything I pointed my finger at could in second be mine. Yet my parents didn't make big mistakes to spoil me that much. So as I grew older and older, I realized how little I actually need. As a kid, I always dreamed of having everything, and it was my hype. Now, to be honest, I want anything, but wealth and more things, I'm literally afraid of it in all aspects of word afraid. I think that I would reject millions of dollars, I can't say for sure, but it's very likely outcome. Enough is when you can share it with others in need, and that is all I want and need. To be fair, many have empty pockets. Why should I have millions? Even better question, where should I spend it? Be real and say what's something smart enough to invest that money into. Asterisk. There is literally nothing you could spend it on, actually do something smart with it. Therefore, I came to conclusion that money is worth nothing if you have nothing smart. So spend it on.